And guys, where we're going to start is the team that had the number one class in the country. That would be the Georgia Bulldogs. Once again, Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs reel in the number one recruiting class. This is a team, remember, coming off of back-to-back national championships. Their 29-game win streak ended by Alabama in the SEC championship game by 3 points, and they're looking to not rebuild but reload for next year and get right back into that national title picture. We'll go through some of the big surprises, some of the different things. Of course, Dylan Raiola left Georgia, the Georgia class, earlier this week. He ended up going to Nebraska, and that was what most people were talking about until today, where you can see right there in the middle, number one safety KJ Bolden joined the class for the Georgia Bulldogs today, flipping away from Florida State. Guys, that is humongous because KJ Bolden is as talented of an athlete as you'll find in the high school ranks. Georgia has been on him for years, and very similarly to Caleb Downs, who went to Alabama out of the state of Georgia and was a All-American, not a freshman All-American, a straight-out All-American. And Kirby Smart, that did not sit well with them at all, and vowed never to allow a player that talented get out of the state of Georgia again. That's what he told KJ Bolden. That's what they sold Bolden on the entirety of his recruitment. And right at the end, Georgia is able to pull out ahead over Florida State for his services. But you see, defense has been the calling card for Georgia during the Kirby Smart era. They bring in Ellis Robinson, who I think is the most talented player in the entire country, regardless of position. He's the number one corner in the country. Justin Williams, the number one linebacker in the country. And then you have KJ Bolden, as I mentioned, number one safety in the country. They bring in 3 running backs in this class, led by number 2 running back in the entire country, Nate Frazier, who also is going to be joined by Chauncey Bowens, who flipped from Florida. Tuck that away because we're going to get to that later in the show as well. And then also Dwight Phillips, who stays in state, a 10-1 100-meter guy. Ellis Robinson, KJ Bolden, that Dwight Phillips, as I just mentioned, all these guys can absolutely fly. Alex Page says you can't have enough backs, and no, that's for sure. That you know Georgia saw with running back depth, with just a couple of injuries can take you out of things, and they're looking to add another running back in the transfer portal with Trevor Etienne, who is leaving Florida and looking for a new home, and Georgia is rumored to be the home for there. KJ Bolden, as I mentioned, was the biggest addition in terms of the most surprising, the flip today on signing day. And this is a deal where, listen, you just learn throughout things. There's things in people's backgrounds that are hard to overcome sometimes. AKA Arch Manning back a couple years ago. Georgia was right there in the mix, and then it comes out, hey, Arch Manning grew up his entire life being a Texas fan, and at the end of the day, that's hard to overcome. Well, in the background of KJ Bolden, his father wanted him to be a Georgia Bulldog from day one. I mean, absolutely wanted him to be a Bulldog from day one. Heck, we saw with Dylan Raiola, his dad played at Nebraska, has his name on the stadium. Sometimes that stuff is harder to overcome because I can tell you 100% KJ Bolden is not getting as much NIL money from Georgia as he could have gotten in other places. Zero chance that he's getting as much. He may be getting close, but he's not getting as much as he was offered other places. Definitely not as much as he was offered at Auburn late in the game here. So KJ Bolden sold on development, but also when a key member of your family, somebody that you love and admire and looks up to, wants you to go a place, that weighs in heavily into these type of decisions as well. Georgia, like I said, I'm going to go back to that slide. The number one recruiting class, the rich get richer. And what they're going to do is not only did they add all these players at the skill positions, they added 6 offensive linemen that on average are 6'6", 330 pounds. I mean, these guys are massive. Now, Kirby Smart said, hey, that's not necessarily a good thing. Some of these guys got to lose some weight to get where they're able to play. But they've added a lot on the offensive line, on the defensive line. Couple of tight end prospects. Jaden Riddell is going to be a name that you're going to need to know for a while. So Georgia with the huge class. Also, inside linebacker, Jamon Dumas-Johnson transfers out to Kentucky. Largely, that's probably because C.J. Allen and Redland Wilson, who were in this last class and were freshmen this year, played so well and worked themselves into a position to play as freshmen, especially when JDJ got injured. Then you bring in all these guys like Chris Cole and Chris Jones. I mean, they're bringing in a ton of guys at the inside linebacker position, 3 guys as well that are going to be hugely talented. So this Georgia class keeps getting richer, and KJ Bolden was a big part of this.